Hello, everyone. This is Tom from Hoylake Computer Club. We're going to be doing a sort of a live stream slash video. And literally, I'm just going to be doing some programming and relaxing in the office, well, man cave. So for this one, I was thinking we'll mix it up a bit. We'll do some Java programming, but we'll, instead of making like a Spring Boot application or some sort of time loop thing, we'll actually make a desktop application or a desktop something. So we're going to be kind of building out like a framework and just sort of like seeing what we can do. So I'll just start sharing screen. We'll start building something. Okay, so at the moment, let's clear this out. Let's think about what we want to make. So for this, I'm thinking we're going to, wreck the screen, apparently. For this, I think we're going to just start making an IntelliJ project of some sort. So let's just go like file, new project. Let's think. I'm going to pop this into projects, games. Let's call this like, I don't know, app engine or something. I don't know. Could be a game engine, could be an app engine, just something that we're playing with. It's going to be Java, IntelliJ. I'll use whatever version I've got of JDK currently. Don't think I want any sample code. Let's see. Don't want to particularly use JavaFX or anything like that. Just want to kind of know specific set of stuff. Maybe create a Git repository as well, just because why not? So let's create that and do it in this window. Wait for a few seconds for the Gradle stuff to do its thing. If it's in there. So I don't think there's any real need for any major league Gradle stuff here. We can just literally build it as a basic application sort of thing. And I've just noticed my Zoom meeting things just stopped sharing. Let's share screen again. A bit strange. I click on something. Oh, that's why I managed to click stop share for some reason. Right, so let's take a look at the source. We've got nothing specific here. It's all really basic. So let's think about what it is that we're going to do. So for my purposes, I'm going to make sort of engine of some sort that can run graphical application of some sort, maybe a canvas, maybe some other stuff like that. Probably make it threaded. So let's first say, let's make a new package, let's say. Let's think. So I want this package to be using normal canonical sort of stuff. So I'll say com.hcc, or actually we'll just do hcc as the main package portion. And let's think we could have like an engine. And maybe graphics for the engine. So we'll have like a bit of hierarchy there. So that's some stuff. I do that. That'd be okay to do that. Let's new package. I want HCC. So I can't do HCC directly. I can do if I put stuff in here. So if I make a new Java class inside the HCC thing, let's say it's I'll just call this one main for now. It's going to be the main class. Let's add that there. Now for this one, I just want it in the HCC, not in the engine. In the HCC. Save that and have it sort of dump into that thing. So I'm going to get that moved into there. Move to package HCC. There we go. Right, so that's inside that package. That's great. So what else I'd probably like is inside the engine. I want some sort of like an engine core of some sort. So maybe we'll call that core. So let's go here, new Java class, core. So it's like the core of the engine. Add that, and I want to put that just directly into engine. Now let's move it into engine. There we go. So this is now inside engine. Now, inside graphics are going to be a few things I want to deal with. I want to have some sort of a display. I want some sort of a window, and I want sort of conceptually a window, a screen, a display, and some other stuff. So maybe some pixels or something that can be different colors or whatever. So let's think about the structure here. Let's say in graphics, I'm going to make a new class. I don't know, call it window for now. That probably want like a new one for the screen itself. So these may conceptually be similar. It's just like rendering and the thought of having displays and doing things. So this one could be either a screen or display. Actually, I'll probably have both. Screen class to model out a screen of some sort. Let's see what other sort of graphics concepts we're going to have. We're going to have some sort of a display. How these are going to fit together, I'll decide as I'm going and just sort of spitballing some ideas here. I'll think maybe I want the concept of having like RGB, so maybe color, like a color class of some sort to the graphics. So now we've got our graphics, we've got some sort of a core, and we've got a main to kind of as an entry point to start with. So let's think conceptually how we're going to do that. Let's go, okay, well, I want to kind of have some sort of project. My main project's probably going to be kind of a subclass of this core class, just so that we can kind of have certain things in place to make it do what I want it to do. So I think maybe the core class is probably going to be my first port of call just for a concept of things that I want. Yeah. So let's jump on into the core class and think about, well, I want it to be threaded. I also want it to be an abstract class because I don't want to ever really have to instantiate this specific class. I want to use this as kind of an engine or a library to leverage from and extend. So let's think of this as a public, let's zoom in a bit actually. Let's say I want this to be abstract. Type a public abstract class core, and I want it to implement runnable. This way it can be threaded basically. Yeah. Now the thing with this is runnable should also technically always have run in its things. So that's something that's probably going to be needed. It doesn't seem to be minding about that for some reason. It should be minding about that. I'm pretty sure it requires to have the run function. I'm going to save this and see what happens here. Doesn't seem to be bothered by that in any way, shape, or form. So, interesting. Okay. So what do I want? I want to be able to either be running or not running. So maybe I'll make like a private Boolean is running. And to start off with, that'll be false. I do want the concept of a screen and display and things like that, but I primarily want a thread of some sort. So private thread. We want a start and a stop. So we'll make like protected versions of these. I want it to kind of be like not static, but I want it to kind of keep within bounds. So I'll just say final void start. So for this one, I just want it to sort of set running to be true. have a new thread and then start that thread. So is running equals true. Thread equals a new thread. I'm going to pass it this, so it can be this that's running. I'll give it a label of core. And then I'll say thread dot start. Okay, so that will be kind of the initialization of starting of the thing. I also want a run method. For this, I'll probably have like an update and a render sort of thing that happens. So I'll literally be making a, let's say, what do I want to do? Yeah, I'm going to make this just a public void run and say, while my program is running, then do stuff. Update and render. Kind of what we want to do. Let's think. So for display purposes, we're going to have like a few abstract things. I want some sort of initialization that happens at the start, or can be initializing things. I want some sort of an update method, and I want some sort of render, but I want these to be abstract so that we can define those in the class that we use, or that we extend this sort of use this. So I'm going to say we want something like protected, abstract, void init for initialization. Same sorts of things for what else? Update and also render. Again, we haven't got the concept of a screen or a display or anything yet, but we just kind of got this concept of a class that has threads. It's runnable. I haven't really added a stop to this, but we'll presume it stops when it kind of, literally goes out of scope for me. I mean, that should be fine because it'll stop running when we go out the while loop away. We can clean that up a little bit later. So here's where we are so far. We save that. Let's think about some more concepts here. We've got that. We probably want some sort of way of rendering or showing the screen in some way, shape, or form. So I'd like there to be like, let's say, a display that can contain maybe a window inside it and a screen that conceptually holds like pixels or something like that, maybe. So display could be like your renderer, maybe. I don't know. I'll figure out how I'm going to hook this up as we go. But the idea here is just to get some sort of a window on the screen doing something. Let's think about this. So I don't know whether I want to kind of start with the window, because that's going to be the thing that's going to be inside the display. And the window is just going to be kind of like a canvas to do things, like a JFrame sort of thing. I don't think we're going to need anything major league as far as like display is concerned to deal with that itself. So in theory, we could just literally have this be pretty much extending the canvas. So yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll do the window next, just to have some conceptual bounds and stuff like that. So we've got this class of window. Let's zoom in a bit. So again, I want this to extend canvas. So extends canvas. So now it can have kind of pixels on it and drawing things and stuff like that. Let's think what else. So I probably want it to have some sort of a title, a width and a height, and some sort of a JFrame to hold things in. So these will all be private sort of fields. So private string title, private, let's say these are just going to be like integers. We'll have the width, and private int height. So I want a JFrame as well, so I can make a private JFrame frame. So I've got some sort of a frame to work with. I need to import JFrame as well. Not create class, what the heck? Why not just import them? There is a JFrame available, right? That shouldn't be a problem. That should be part of Swing. I'm going to do this. Import Java X dot Swing dot JFrame. That should exist. Yeah. Okay, that's better. So and there's the JFrame. Why is it not liking JFrame? Can't resolve symbol JFrame. That's a bit weird since I've just imported it. Still not happy with that though. Is it happy now? It's happy now somehow. That was it. I just wanted me to delete the word and add it again. How cool is that? Right, okay, so we've now got our JFrame. So I want to be able to instantiate a window, passing it like a title, a width, and a height. So let's try that. So we want a public window, and I want to take in a string title, int width, and an int height. And we're just going to literally just be building this out. Probably want some sort of creation of the frame and stuff, but we'll figure that out in a moment. This dot title equals title. This dot width equal to width, and this dot height equal to height. So we've got the conceptual bounds of the thing. We want to be, let's what to do here. Create the frame. Something next. Actually, you know what? We can just write a method for that. So I'll make a private method. Doesn't need to return anything. We'll call it like create window or create. So create all of it. Okay, so this is just going to be building out something. So I want to give it a size. I can use a dimension for that. And for the dimension, I'll just pass it the width and the height. So now we've got like dimensions of the screen. I will set all the sizes. So I want like minimum size, maximum size, and preferred size all to be size. So there's no screen tearing and resizability. I'm probably going to have it not resizable to start with. Just give it a specific fixed size. So I want to set minimum size to size. I want to set maximum size to size. And I want to set preferred size to size. Okay, so that's kind of keeping the bounds definitely exactly that size. I want to instantiate my frame. And then what I want to do is set a title, tell it that it can't be resized, add this actual window inside the frame, pack it so it's got no weird artifacts over the place, and then literally make sure the close operation is set and make sure it's kind of center screen, and then make it visible. Basically, that's the concept of what I want to do. So let's try and do that. So we want frame dot set title, and we can just pass that the title. The next thing I want to do is make sure it's not resizable. I want it to be a fixed size based upon the height and the width that we've given it. So I'll say frame dot set resizable to false. Then we can add this current object, the window itself, which is a canvas, inside the frame. So it's a bit of kind of inception here. It's It's creating a frame inside this class, but then adding this class inside the frame. But they're all references, so it's not a problem. It can be done easily. So frame dot add this object inside the frame. Once we've done that, we need to pack it to make sure it's of that exact size and everything's all working without any weird artifacts and strange tearing or anything like that. So we can do that with a frame dot pack. Then I want to make sure that it closes correctly and ends the thread once we actually close it. So what I can say is frame dot set default close operation to JFrame dot exit on close. So that will make sure that all the threads and everything's all resolved and cleaned up after it. So now I want to put it in the middle. Now the way we can do that, there's a little, it's a bit hacky, but it's the canonical sort of idea in the way how we would do that is we can set the location relative to something. Well, we want it relative to null, which kind of says center on display. Now this sometimes works perfectly. Other times you've got multiple displays, it might kind of cross display or display in an incorrect place, but we'll leave it at that for now. So we're going to say frame dot set position relative to, not focus. There is position, sorry, not position, location. Relative to, and not relative to any specific component, we'll just say null, which will basically say put it in the center of the screen. Now, whether that means the center of this screen or whether that means the center of the overall, I've got like 3 screens shoved around the place, so it may have a bit of a wobbler, but we'll see. So then I want to say frame dot set visible so that it can be displayed to true. So that's kind of like the creation of that frame existing and having the window displayed. Obviously, there's not much to display there. It's got a title, a width, and a height. Now, in this situation, I can say, well, whenever I instantiate a window, I also want to create the actual sort of frame and everything. So I could say create, no, literally. So that will call this and do all its functionality. So we've separated our concerns. We probably want to be able to get the width and height of the thing because they're private. So we'll say int get width and return width. And it doesn't seem to like a get width. What's it moaning about? Oh, I didn't give it a public. Sorry, I did literally say it was private already. Public int get height return height. There we go. We could have had this sort of generate for us, but it's easy enough to type these things in. So now we pretty much got a window. We can instantiate a window and just have it kind of be there and display stuff. Well, display a blank window basically at this point. Now, as far as the window is concerned, we need to be able to hook into it to do stuff with the canvas. And this is where kind of maybe a display class or a renderer class might come in. So for the display class, we need some sort of a graphic object, a buffer strategy, some sort of a frame or canvas to draw to, in which case we'll be using this window as the canvas, what we're going to draw to. We can then instantiate the display, passing it like a window, and then creating a buffer strategy and building out the graphics and hooking into it so we can actually draw something. So for that, well, that's going to be literally my renderer or display. You can call it renderer, you can call it display, whatever you pretty much want in this sort of situation. For my sort of purposes, I want to maybe scale it. So if I want to kind of get that retro blocky look, I could multiply it with a scale. Or I don't know whether I'm going to use that yet. I'll think on that. I may or may not use that yet. I'll maybe add a scale at some point. Possible I'll add a scale. I don't know. Let's say private window window. So it's now got a window. It wants some sort of graphic object. So private graphic. Classically, we'd say G. You put GFX, graphics, whatever you want, to be honest. But usually, like if you look in docs, it'll all say G as graphics object. So I want a buffer strategy. So private buffer strategy, BS for short. Right. So then we could instantiate this display. So say public display, passing it a window. Now, bearing in mind, the window's got a width, a height, a canvas to draw to and things like that. So it's quite useful in that sense. So we'll set this start window equals window. So we've got a reference to the window. We'll create a buffer strategy. So for that, that means that we've got one available. Probably going to put create buffer strategy. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to be able to create a buffer strategy, passing it something. So this is going to be a functionality that I want to add. So I'll just comment that out for a moment because I haven't actually wrote it yet. But that's just going to be like a triple buffering buffer strategy, and it's going to pass it into the window just to separate its concerns. And then as far as we're concerned, we need to get the buffer strategy from the window once we've done that. So it'll be like a buffer strategy is equal to window.get buffer strategy. And then we're going to set up the graphics by using the buffer strategy and getting the drawable graphics from it, like a pointer to that data. So G equals window, BF start get draw graphics. So that'll give us access to a graphic pointer. Now, I'm going to be writing this thing in a second anyway. I'll write that now. Stop it moaning, basically. So for this one, we want it to be protected because we want to be able to actually have it available. So and we'll say void create buffer strategy. And all I want to do is I just want to create a standardized three layer buffer strategy for triple buffering. So we'll just do a window dot create buffer strategy and pass it a 3 to say that's how many buffers we're going to want. So that's that. Also, we'd want to be able to draw something to the screen. It needs to have the concept of being able to actually, let's say we want to have some sort of an image to draw to the screen. So we'll build out some sort of a buffered image. And that'll probably be the pixels eventually, but for now, I'm just going to call it image. And again, it's just a rendering sort of concept. So let's say public void draw image. And we'll pass it an image. So buffered image. And to do that, we're going to get the buffer strategy again, or get the draw graphics. So G equals BS dot get draw graphics, which we want to do each sort of time that we do this. Then we can start drawing something. We do G dot draw image. Funnily enough, it has an image. We're going to pass it the image that we're passing in. We're going to pass it a beginning X and Y, 0, 0, 0. Give it how big we want it. For now, we just want to fill the window. So window dot get width, and then a window dot get height. Why not typing? Did I not have a window dot get? I definitely made a window dot get height, right? Did I not make that public? That's definitely public. It's definitely right there. I'm going to save that again just to make sure. So it's a bit of a strange one. Now it's there. Maybe I didn't save it or something. And then for now, I don't need to do any other sort of things. So I'll just put that to null. There we go. We still need to do this whole buffered image thing. So let's import that as well. Right. So in theory, that would draw an image to the screen at 0, 0 with a width of get width and a height of get height. And then I don't really need an observer or any other bits and pieces there for now. So having said that, I'll also want to be able to show the actual screen. So what we can do is we can dispose of the graphics object and just show the buffer strategy for this. So I'll say public void show. And when we show, we just want to do a g.dispose. We no longer need the graphic object at that point in time. And a bs.show will actually show the buffer strategies. Sometimes you call this flip the display, but that's an example. I don't know whether I want to scale yet. I'll think on whether I want some form of a scale or scale it up or down or something. I think that'll do, because it's kind of rendering. So the show is basically render, if you like, which realistically the whole of this is the render pipeline for what we're doing. But that should be good enough for the moment, and I may have scale added in the future if I want to kind of make more blocky graphics or something. I don't know. I'll think up something. So we've got a window, we've got our display. Now, conceptually, I'd like to perhaps have a screen that could basically just deals with having pixels on the screen. So it'll be like the data layer of conceptually having a screen. So I'll just have like an int array of pixels. It has to have some sort of a width and height, which it could always derive from other things. And I'd want to be able to kind of clear the screen if I want to a specific color. I'd want to be able to get the width and height. I'd probably want to be able to get the image from the screen that can be then rendered utilizing this display class or something like that. So that'd be kind of a concept of being able to put pixels on a screen and deal with it. I mean, you could make like a put pixel call or something, but we'll deal with things like that as we build out the graphic side of this sort of thing. So literally, I think that's going to be the next thing. It's just this data structure of a screen that can hold some stuff. Now, this one's not, this is going to need its own class. It's not going to need any, doesn't need to inherit from other things. So this will just have like a private int width and a private int height. We'll then have some sort of int array of pixels. So private, we'll just do that. Private int array of pixels. And I probably want some sort of an image. So private buffered image. Need to import buffered image there. Okay, so we've got some fields for this specific thing now. So what else are we going to need? I think in essence, first we want to be able to like instantiate the screen, just given a width and height, and then we'll deal with the buffered image stuff and create some sort of a data buffered sort of setup so we can actually deal with the pixels and connect the pixels to each pixel of the image, so we can draw and read pixels from the image. So for this, we're just going to do a public screen, taking in an int width and an int height. Once we've done that, we can then say, okay, well, let's just do the standardized this dot width equal width and this dot height equals height. Then we'd want to kind of set up this buffered image utilizing the width and height and choose what sort of type of coloring scheme or type of data that we're going to be dealing with. So I'll say image is equal to a new buffered image. We can instantiate a new buffered image by giving it a width, a height, and some sort of a type. So I'll say buffered image type. RGB. Do we want? Yeah, we don't. I'm probably not going to have like alpha blending and stuff just yet. We can always imitate alpha blending by giving it a chroma color and dealing with that afterwards. Then we could have some sort of a pixel array, which we're using. So pixels. So what we want to set pixels to is going to actually be the image dot get raster. Yeah. So getting the pixels of the image, but then I want to get the data buffer from it. Yeah. So that's the data I want. Now I want to cast all of this to be a bunch of integers. So I want a we want it in data buffer int. We need to probably import that. No, it's not happy with that. What have I done there? Have I put I in front of data buffer int? Yeah. Gotta love red on a background, and it really doesn't really help. Okay, so we've got that. But what we now need to do is we need to get all of the data of that. So I want to encapsulate that together. So let's just put some parentheses around it now. Then I'll say dot, and then we can just get the data. Yeah. So now it's got a reference to the buffer of pixels inside that buffered image, which means that these pixels are now linked in. So if I reference the 0th element of the pixels array, it references the top left corner of the image. So if I want to edit or read any image data that's in there, I can do that by just adding some number to it, like an RGB value of some sort. So that's basically the concept of what we want to do for the screen conceptually. But I want to be able to clear the screen. So all we need to do to clear the screen is literally go over our array of pixels and set them to a specific color that we decide. For now, that's just going to be an integer. So I can just say public void clear, passing in a color. Usually American word for color. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's write it how you want. Okay, so for int I equals 0, while I is less than, I think we're taking in a width and height. So width times height would give us the size. Then we'll just do I plus plus. So now it's going to go over everything. So I can say pixels at I equals the color. Okay. And that's it. That's clearing the screen. So we've got that thing. I want to kind of overload this function. So if we say clear, we can clear it to like black or something, clear it to 0. So I'll say public void clear that doesn't take anything and just call clear of 0, just so it kind of clears it to a specific color. If you just want to clear it, it arbitrarily chose black. Now we just want to get the width, the height, and the image. We could just, yeah, you know what, shall we, oops, let's not do that. Shall we generate some, come on, it would have been faster for me to just type it by looking at it. Generate getters for width, height, and I don't know whether I want to be able to get pixels directly, because the screen should be clearing those, or I'll decide on that later. I'll figure out what I want to do with that. I might make like a get pixels. Yeah, why not? Just if we need to get the pixels, I don't know. I don't think we'd ever really need to because we can get the image. So yeah, I'm not going to do that get pixels just yet. I'll think about whether I want to or need that at all anyway. Overall sort of strategy of things. I can always refactor this and we can kind of build on it and make it into something. But it's more just getting the concept of the overall thing to do stuff, the stuff we need. So I do want to be able to kind of create some sort of RGB values and all that for a screen without having to just know the color number for any given value. So I think this was where the idea of the whole class of color comes into it. So that way we're able to kind of pass it maybe a hex code and it literally builds out the color into that. Or we could pass it an RG and B value and we can figure out what the hex code is from that and stuff like that. So we can kind of do a few interesting sort of concepts there. And then we can have it return the color if need be in a different format or build and take it in different ways. So for this, let's say color. So we've got our class. It needs to hold an actual color, which is just an integer at this point. So that'll be a private int color. And we'll make a instantiation using some sort of hex code. So we'll say public color int hex for the hex code. And it's just going to literally be taking that hex code and set it to the color. So this dot color equals hex. So that'll be one way of instantiating. I want to also be able to instantiate it using an RGB value. Now, this is going to require us to take this RG and B and make it into a hex code. It's not that hard because the red value will be shifted to the left by 16, the green by 8, and the blue left where it is. So it's just going to be a bit shifted. So let's think about this. So to get the hex of something, we need to pass it an RGB value. So I'll say something like public static get hex, so that we can use this as a utility function at any given time. Int R, int G, int B. So we're taking these RGB values, yeah? And then we'll return. And what we need to do is we need to sort of like build this up. So I want my red shifted by 16. And I'll OR against it with my green shifted by 8. And then I'll just pass it, OR it against blue. And that would build out what we want theoretically. It doesn't seem to like this being static at the moment. Oh yeah, it also needs to return something, doesn't it? Integer. So now that would return us our actual color hex code as such. So that's kind of building it out, which means that we could actually take in RGB. So we could say public color int R, int G, int B, and literally just utilize the get hex to set it. So we'll say this dot color equals get hex of R, G, B. So now we're able to just pass it red, green, and blue sort of red, green, blue numbers or data colors. So we can kind of build that out as a thing. I'm not doing, well, we could do alpha channel as well if we wanted to. We might want that in the future. I'll put it as a to-do. Now, you know what? We're gonna just override it now and just make it be that. Let's copy that, paste that down. And all we need to do is pass it an alpha channel as well, so RGBA. at least then we've got the option. All we have to do is the A needs to be at the higher order. So we want A shifted to the left by 24 and OR it against those. Pretty much it, really. That's the only thing that we need to do to add alpha channel and blending and stuff and other things. We do want to get the red, green, blue in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to need a getter for that. So let's just put that here, like it's going to be given an int array, and that can also be a utility function. So I'll say public static int array get RGB, and just pass it the hex. So int hex. We're going to kind of do a reversal of what we're doing here. You know what I mean? A reversal of getting the hex. For this one, I'll say int r equals the hex, and I need to mask it. So we're going to use an AND operation here. Think about the hex in the sense of what part it is that we want. Well, we want the 0x ff 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's the red. Remember how we do red, green, blue. So ff is red there. So that's just masked it to say, take that portion of the binary number. And then shift it to the right by 16, because we shifted it to the left by 16, didn't we? Yeah. And then rinse and repeat for green and blue. So now I'll say green was 8, wasn't it? And the green is not this part. The green is actually a mask of just those Fs. So that's got to go to the side by 8. And the blue is literally going to be just the FF without any extra bits. And that's not going to need shifting at all. So that's fine. So that R needs to change to B. Now I've got red, green, and blue. Now we need to recompile them back into an integer array. So return a new int array, passing it RGB. And again, we can reverse the one with alpha channel blending. So I can literally copy this and call it get RGB A. And the only difference is we're going to literally pass an alpha channel to it. So it's int A equals, and we want the hex masked with an ampersand for and, 0x FF, and then all zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, to give us the alpha channel. Then we're going to move that across by 24. Then not just RGB, we'll just add a little comma space A there, and that sorts that out. So now we've got the ability to get the red, green, blue values, and also the red, green, blue with alpha channel values. I'm probably not going to really use that too much, but it's there. It's a nicety of having it. Right, so that's pretty much some sort of a color class to be able to deal with and manipulate color. And it just gives us that sort of ability to make an RGB color if we need to, or grab the hex code for it, or grab the color code itself. I probably want like a get color at the end of this as well. So may as well do that. And that's just going to return that's going to be a public and return an int. Yeah. Color. I'm just going to return color. Okay, so we've now got this sort of API, if you like, to read and write color values in hex /RGB. So there's not much else that we really need. We've got this concept of screen. We've got this display as our renderer. We've got our color concept. We've got a window, which has the JFrame. So that being said, we need to kind of make our core do something now. We're going to utilize those things. So let's take a look at our core. So there's some more things we need to add to our core. So we've got this run. We need to do our update and render. So we're not going to manually do that update and render, but we are going to call them now. So let's call update, and we'll call render. Now, here's where we need to be able to create a display of some sort. So we're going to have to kind of add that into the creation of the thing in the first place. So let's think about this. So we need to create the display. It's going to just be making a new display and a new screen, basically. But we also need the window to do that. So let's just make a new method that's just a void method to create the display. So protected, because remember, we're going to be inheriting from this. Void create display. We want to give it a display name of some sort. So string name, which will probably be the title, actually. Your window title would be display name. So yeah, name. I'll call it title. Yeah, for now, I'll call it title. That's fine. Int width and int height. That's what that's going to take it. Now we're going to set our display, which means we need a display as part of our thing. So here, when we've got our thread and our running and stuff, I'm going to want a screen. So I'll say protected screen. That's going to be important. I'm going to want a private display, because that's going to be within this actual thing itself. So our API to the display is going to be the screen, I think, really. So private display. Okay. Let's import that. We're going to have to import window in a moment as well when we actually utilize it. So we've got those things. So now my display is going to be equal to a new display. And remember, we just pass it a window. So I can just say new window, passing it the title, the width, and the height. And then import window as well. That's the one. Right. Then I want to make a new screen. So screen equals new screen. After the screen, I need to just give it a width and a height. And that's just because it's more of a data structure, a conceptual data structure, to kind of abstract away some of this stuff. So we've got that. We've got it doing its thing. I'll probably move that a bit further up. I can't do that one. Let's clean this up a bit. Maybe on that. So after the start, before the run or something. About the utility function. I think that anything else I can think of that. I think that should theoretically be enough to just get us maybe a window in general. Let's see what we can do. Let's save that. Now remember that the main is going to be inheriting this core. So it's going to inherit all the traits of the core. So it's going to extend it. So extends core. Yeah. Now I'm going to zoom in a bit. And let's see, I need to implement some of these things. Come on. Okay. Implement the methods. Okay, there we go. So it's got a few override methods it needs to implement. Probably going to be adding some more stuff, but in general, that's the first thing. I also want to be able to instantiate main. So we'll call it public main. Doesn't really need to do much at all. In fact, it's just wants to exist, I suppose. But now we can add to that later, because we're going to use it initialization. And for the initialization, we'll be running create display. We need to give it a title. So core app or something. I don't know. 800 by 600. Something, I don't remember making up numbers here. And then we'll just start the application. As far as updates concerned, we don't have any real logic to do. For render, what we could do a clear of the screen. So screen dot clear. And then probably do a show. We will need to make, did I make a show? Or did I call it flip? Hang on a minute. I'll check my core and make sure I've made some sort of way of showing the screen. Got run, got that. I didn't really make an internal sort of show thing there, did I? So I'll need to really do that somewhere. So we're doing the display show, aren't we, for the show? So I'm going to make it just do the show. Yeah. So for that, we could just add like a show thing here. So I'll make it protected. Void show. There we go. So that way we can show the display. So we can do a draw image of the screen thing. So I could say display dot draw image, and it just needs the data from the screen. So screen dot get image. Now, do I have any issues with that? Why is that not liking draw images? No, did I not make a draw image in display? I'm sure I did. I'll have a look in a minute. And then display dot show. Let's see what's going on the display for drawing an image. Maybe I didn't write a draw image. Oh, I did. I've called it draw image for some reason. Typos for the win. I wonder if it's mine saying I don't have a draw image. Let's have a look back here. There we go. I'm just typo. Right. So now we've got this show. That should be fine in the main thing. So screen clear, and then we'll just show. So that'll go off and display stuff. Now we could clear it to a specific color. A good sort of concept of how we can determine the colors, we could put like 0x, red, no green, and I don't know, 40 in the blue. There we go. So got a lot of red, no green, and a bit of blue. That sort of should be some sort of like a purpley, reddy sort of thing. So there we've got our overall thing there. I don't think there's much else really that's needed to just get stuff on the screen. We could elaborate on this and build it out a bit more. We do need to actually make a main entry point here though as well. That's one thing we definitely will be needing. So I'll just make a public static void main taking in a string array of args. And then literally do a new main. So main equals new main. And then we'll say main dot init to initialize it and run. Okay, so now we've got our entry point. We can build out this application and see what happens. Let's try and run main and see what breaks. I'd have done some sort of a typo somewhere. We'll see. No, it actually did work. How cool is that? We have a core app. It's not a very good rendered background though. I don't think that's quite right. So we have a problem with some sort of color issues here. Image cannot cast to class jar AWT data buffer int. It can't cast it. I've probably got my parentheses all messed up, so I'll have a look at that in a moment because that's just a general. Don't forget we're doing this live, so it's at least we have a window and it's called core app and it's of 800 by 600. That's pretty cool to start with. Let's see what's happening with this cast, because that's having a bit of an issue. Because it's taking the UTF-8 and sort of like playing about and doing its thing. So for that, I need to go into my sort of renderer or display. Let's have a look. What am I doing here? That's there. Did I make that do that? Yeah, growth strategy. Did I do it in my window then? I forgot where I was. So my window's doing its normal thing. My display is doing its thing. My color's doing its thing. The screen's where I'm doing this data buffering. So let's see what I've got. You guarantee it's going to be some sort of a parentheses somewhere that's incorrectly done. So I've got me out of parentheses. I've got a data buffer int parentheses. And we've got an image. And I'm just getting the raster of the image and getting the data buffer. So that should be fine. I don't know why that's not working. You should be able to turn that into an integer, right? So data buffer is what we want to kind of cast. I'm going to go look up some docs and see whether there's any weirdness where this comes up, where it doesn't like it, because that's just acting like it's unhappy with setting it up as that. Let's see if I can find any interesting concepts there. So data buffer in, get raster, get buffers. No, there's. Have I? That's a bit weird. There we go, get data buffer in code examples. We've got some interesting little code examples here. Tab 9's helping. So they're using a shader utils thing here somewhere, and they're doing a similar thing to what I am. So I'm going to see. They're doing a final byte buffer to do this. I didn't want to really use that. No, they're doing a similar thing that I am. They're using a pixels data buffer int. Data buffer int. Image.get raster, get data buffer. Image.get raster, get data. They're doing exactly the same thing that I am. In fact, I'm going to copy and paste their line of code to see what the differences are. I'm probably doing something weird. Right, they've got their final pixels, but I've already got my pixels. So let's have a look. What's the difference? Is there a difference? I cannot see a difference. Can anybody else see a difference here? Have I done a typo? I can't see any typos here. Can't cast to a class data buffer int, apparently. Well, I can't see why it can't, because it's got a data buffer there. It's just kind of changing it to the data buffer. Oh boy, you gotta love it when these things happen. I've got a buffered image, I'm doing that. The pixels is literally an int array, and we're taking the images raster, and then we're getting the data buffer from it. I'm going to put exactly the error what I've got here. And I'm going to see what's wrong. I mean, this is a good thing that we're doing things live, I guess. I'm going to paste this error in to Google and see what Google says. Can I be cast? Here we go. Some errors while writing the code of Java, trying to fix along the way. Error is this. To solve the problem, you need to change buffered image type. Type 3 byte. What? Did I not put? Ah, I don't know why I let this auto do itself. This should actually be an int. I thought that's what I did. It's the only problem with letting it help me do stuff. That's fine. It was just this here should have been an int in the first place, but I let the autocomplete do it, and because the type and RGB or BG, shouldn't that be RGB, not BGR anyway? Yeah, it really should, shouldn't it? Wow, I should have noticed that. That's fine. So there we go. That's what I wanted it to be, RGB int. Now it should theoretically work. I don't know why. Yeah, because I got a bit lazy and I let the IDE kind of auto-complete the wrong thing. Great stuff. So now let's go back to main. We've done a bit of debugging and let's see what we get. We should theoretically have a color, hopefully. Yep, we've got kind of a weird pinky purple sort of interesting color. There we go. So that's the problem what we had. That's fine. We've now done a little live stream of doing this, and we've got a window on the screen of some sort. We can test that this works okay by literally changing the color and stuff on our thing. So we go into our main and change our clear color to something else. Let's change it to a 20 green, 0 red, green and blue, and see what we get. We get like a dark sort of green blue color. There we go. We've got sort of a deep sort of blue thing there. Deep ocean blue or something. So that's cool. We can also pass it red, green, blue integers. So we could technically do that, but for now we're good with what we've got. So we can just, as long as you look up hex codes or something, you kind of figure out what that color is going to be. Okay, so I think that's a good time to have a little pause on our live stream, and we'll continue on at a later time. For those who just want to watch this in its own thing, I've recorded it as a video as well, so we've got it.